Okay, so building emails is all about doing stuff, not so much about talking. So for the code panel demo, we're just going to go ahead and do stuff. And then once you see how the stuff is done, we'll do some more stuff so you can follow along while I do a little bit of talking. But first, let's build some email code. We'll be building this using Stig's awesome background image technique, which is baked into the Sidecar as a code block. So let's get started. First, we'll be targeting these devices, and we want our images to have these mobile device dimensions. So we're going to need to resize the image using media queries to give us the display sizes we want. Well, that's going to be our first challenge because, of course, this image will not proportionally resize to give us these dimensions. We're going to have to scale this image out beyond the bounds of its parent table to give us these heights, which means we don't know yet what width values go here. Sure, we could set the width property to auto and hope all our email clients support that, but, well, it's easy enough just to let the Sidecar do that math. So let's just go ahead and do that. So first, we drop the map image onto the image panel. Now, starting with the small phone's display, we know the height we want, and we need to calculate the width. So let's go ahead and enter the height here, so 313, and the Sidecar gives us our width here. So now we can enter that width into the small phones field, and that gives us the dimensions we need right here. And now we can do the same for large phones. We enter the height we need, and that gives us the width. And then, so we enter that into the large phones field. And voila, these dimensions will be output automatically as CSS code blocks later on when we need them. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and build this code. Now I'm going to try and go slow and narrate, and I will do my best to comment each of the actions. But if it goes too fast, you can always open the video on YouTube and slow it down. Okay, so here we go. You start out by dropping the background image, and then on the toolbar, set the table width to 600, and then tab over to the small and large phones to get the values we just calculated, and that is 400 and 534. Now we open the code panel and click background image in the TD section. We set the TD class to map. In the table section, we set the class to device width and click table code block. Then we jump over to the editor, paste that code block, and now we do the CSS. We jump to the large phone CSS in the editor, click large phone CSS code block in the Sidecar, and paste that CSS into the editor. Jump to the small phone CSS in the editor, click small phone CSS code block in the Sidecar, and paste that code block in the editor. You save, and now we see the background in the browser. Now, you might have noticed that I use markers in the HTML file that I searched for to get around quickly. Well, we're going to do that now. We're going to search for the text put F, which will take us to the placeholder where we can insert foreground content over the background image. So now we delete that placeholder and add a line where we want to paste the foreground content. Back in the Sidecar, we refresh, drop the foreground image. Then in the toolbar, we enter the image width, tab over to the phones fields, and enter 220 and 300 for small and large phones. Then we open the code panel, and in the image section, enter the class GIF, and then the alt text, can't forget that, and delete the anchor because links don't work on backgrounds if I remember correctly. In the TD section, center line, add a 20 pixel padding for the top, and then delete the default height because we want the browser to own that part. In the table section, set class to device width and width to 500 and click table code block. Then jump over to the editor, paste that code right in there between the divs. Now we're going to add a marker, jump up to the large phone CSS, click the copy large phone CSS code block in the Sidecar, then paste it. Jump to the small phone CSS, click the small phone CSS code block and paste that. Now we jump to our marker and set the cursor. Back in the Sidecar, click the TD No Image button, add 40 pixel top padding and the class DogVenture, then paste in our content. Click Center Align for good measure, then table cell code block. In the editor, add a table row, then paste that code block. And finally, set the cursor at the top of the style attribute and insert the snippet with the text formatting. And we're done. Responsive as ordered. Looks pretty good. Okay, so now I'm going to do a quick user interface click-through, and then we'll freestyle a quickie VML button, and that'll wrap it up for the code panel demo. I think by now you've gotten the hang of it, so instead of narrating, I'm just going to take a minute to give you some nuts and bolts background info on the Sidecar Companion that you can listen to while you watch the action on screen. The Sidecar Companion for HTML email is a browser-based, pure vanilla JavaScript app that supports local file access and allows developers to work with their preferred code editor. It produces code blocks that are pre-populated with image dimensions derived from the currently loaded image, so users don't have to waste time typing or copying pixel values. It produces no extraneous code and displays no extraneous user interface elements, and also provides limited user error dissuasion for common slip-ups such as typos and contradictory values. And if you're wondering what error dissuasion is, we'll briefly discuss that in the final short video. But most importantly, the Sidecar app's extensible modular architecture allows for the updating of existing code blocks and addition of new ones, as well as integration into node-based applications. I want to make it clear that the Sidecar app is not a code generator, but rather it's an integrated tool set and UI that lets developers create code outside the confines of the code editor. It doesn't replace the code editor. It augments and complements it. In that sense, the Sidecar really is a lot like riding a motorcycle with a sidecar. If you already know how to ride, having a Sidecar companion to help you navigate can get you to the destination a lot faster and with a lot less stress.